Manfred Kohl. I was born right in the middle of the Second World War in 1942. I grew up in Germany. I was born into a family that made furniture. And so when I grew up, it was a very difficult time right after the war. I know what starvation meant. I know how we had to struggle for food for several years. And the highlight was when we got some care packages that came from North America. We thought that's the promised land. And that was always in my mind as I grew up. So I learned my trade as a cabinet maker and was very happy as I learned how to make my tools, how to make a masterpiece, and how to become a master cabinet maker. But then I felt I should leave home, leave all the restriction and all the requirements. And I was looking around the world, where could I go for a few years just to find out what would be the future of my life. I went to Africa, I went to Asia, I went to the Middle East. But then I went for 2 years to North America. I arrived in New York. I did not even know the language, but I know how to work as a cabinet maker, as making furniture, good furniture. And I immediately got a job. Within 3 days, I was employed. After 1 month, I was a foreman in a furniture factory, and I was very, very excited. I did my job, and after about 2 years, I went home again, back to Europe, back to Germany, to see if I would fit into the culture and upbringing, the family regulations and restrictions, the expectation of everyone. But I felt that I also like to do some academic work. I like to go to study. I like to become a pastor or missionary. I like to be involved in helping people, not just to make furniture and to make money. And so I looked around and went for Bible school in Germany for a while. I went to England to another Bible school. And then I thought, let's go back to America. Things are free. Things are much more open. There is that concept of when you go to America, you can achieve a lot. It's the country of no limitations, the countries of great opportunities, the country where you can express yourself and where you have freedom. That's what I thought. That was my whole ideas. And so I went to America, forgetting the past, and even my parents were willing to let me go. They saw the business after over 300 years. And I began a new life. I thought it was a new beginning. I enjoyed being in America, go to the different universities, study and learn and understand what it means to be free. And that's when I came in contact with a congregational idea. I studied the Pilgrims, and knowing that they also came first from Holland and from England to go to the New World, to start something new, to have a new beginning. I identify myself with them more than with the Lutheran that I was brought up or the Calvinistic tradition. I felt I want to be much more free and independent, just like the ideas of congregationalism. I found even a congregational church. I studied the history of congregationalism, and I felt very, very comfortable. I studied theology. I became a congregational pastor. I make it short. I had the privilege of being teaching assistant under the very famous church historian George Williams at Harvard University, one of the best places I could think of. And I focused on congregational tradition, congregational history. I got married in America to a Canadian lady who was once my student, and we together had a church, a congregational church, one of the oldest one in the United States. I was following that dream of absolute freedom, of independence, of achieving things that you could achieve nowhere else. But then I discovered it's not as easy as everyone thinks and dreams of. After my teaching assignment and after I got my doctorate degree, I felt I like to serve people. And for several years, my family and I, we had 2 boys, my wife, the 2 boys and I, we went to Africa. We spent several years in West Africa. I was the regional director for humanitarian agency World Vision. But what I learned in Africa is that relationship is much more important than freedom. Relationship with people, to understand where they are, to sit with them and to feel with them and to have fun and joy and pain with them. That made my life much more richer, much more valuable. So my time in Africa helped me to find a fulfillment for myself. I was very happy. Then I went back to Europe. I was assigned to Europe for several years with the same agencies, had offices in Germany and Austria and Switzerland and Holland and Eastern Europe. I had to deal with a large organization. And after 15 years doing that, I went back to America. Our 2 boys studied America. My wife got a doctorate degree in America. So I went back and got my second doctorate degree and took on a teaching assignment, helping people not to just dream about freedom and achieving great things, but dealing with the real issue of how to be a person, how to help other people, how to understand other people, how to love your neighbor as you love yourself, which is a huge, huge statement that took me years to understand. But I'm still learning and practicing what that means. I also had to learn that in the free world, the idea of integrity is a big issue. If you become your own master, if you become completely free and you make all the decisions, integrity is an issue that sometimes has to be greater emphasized, and people have to learn what it means to be humble, to be a servant, surely to be leaders and to achieve a lot, but to turn around and learn to be more a servant. Well, for the last 30 years, I live now in Canada, on the Atlantic coast in Nova Scotia. My wife comes from here. We actually bought a house in which she was born, right next to the kitchen at home. And we bought that house, we bought a property, and we enjoy living here. And I have to say that even in Canada, I learned more than I have learned in the United States. I appreciate all the experiences and all the learning that I achieved, but the real fulfillment of life, the real satisfaction of life, not only comes with age, but it also helped me to be here in Canada and experience that. I'm very happy to be a Congregationalist. I believe in the independence. I believe that you can express your faith in a completely free, unrestricted way. You can read scripture, you can pray differently, you can preach openly. So I'm happy to be a Congregationalist, and I'm totally fulfilled living here now in Canada. So all my dreams that I had as a child, growing up in time that Hitler destroyed the entire country, and socialism has had a tremendous impact on its population. I have now the fulfillment of seeing that my life is worth something, that I can be respected and respect others. I personally think that I have a real, exciting, fulfilling, joyful life. And that is Manfred Kohl.
Hallelujah to that. It sounds as though you mentioned the word freedom a very great deal, but you also seem to have had a journey of tempering freedom, or at least bringing freedom into conversation with first the freedom of others, so freedom and community, and then the second thing was freedom and personal integrity, and that's been part of that journey. So when you set out with the dream to find the promised land, was that conversation still part of that same journey? Is the promised land to do with more than freedom? Does it involve that communality, caring for others, and personal integrity as well?
I think as I grew up, especially in a country that was rebuilding itself, and I experienced that there were so many restrictions and so many rules and regulations. You had to get permit for everything. You cannot do what you really wanted to do. You could not express yourself. Either your family told you what to do, or the society, or the different organization and structures almost held you down. And from what I heard, America is a country where all that is not bothering you anymore. And I experienced that. I mean, to go to America, and you don't have to register, you don't have to put your name down in the town hall. You're just free. If you want to do something, you just do it. You don't need permission. You don't have to ask anybody. If you want to achieve something, if you come up with something great, and you can sell it, and you can make a lot of money, no one else bothers you. There are no regulations anymore. And that freedom excited me. However, I later found out that freedom is not everything. Freedom is an exciting. It's almost like you take a pill that lifts you up. I discover that life has more than freedom. Life has responsibility for yourself, not being put on by other people. You have to develop them yourself. You have to find out what integrity and honesty and truth and humility is. No one else has to tell you and push you and require it from you. You have to develop it. And for me, that is much more valuable than just going out and enjoy freedom.
And you've written a book about the Mayflower and the Pilgrims, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
We're going to include that in our resources.
I believe in the congregational tradition. I believe how the Pilgrims were looking for freedom in their faith, but not only in their faith, in their entire experience of life. And I was pastor just half an hour from where they landed and where the Pilgrims began the beginning in North America. And I was pastor of the historic church built by the second generation of Pilgrims. I remember when I was pastor, out of the 150 church members, we had 18 who can trace their direct line to the Mayflower. So they were the Souls of the Standishes, and all these people were still in our church. And they're very proud to be the real American, the real Pilgrims. But as I ministered to them and as I met with them and we came together and we started a relationship that even now after 50 years, we are still very close friends. Whenever I go back to the church, they have a big party, a big celebration. It becomes my home, even after I left the church for Africa 50 years ago. So for me, the freedom and the development of yourself has to go together. The freedom of developing your own identity, your own faith, your own concept of integrity and honesty and humility, that has to come, I believe, from within, in yourself, and not being pushed from the outside and being expected from you, and you quite often just act because other people expect you to act like that.
Do you think that the America of today is still true to the vision that the Pilgrims had? Is it still the promised land?
It's a very difficult question. I have had the privilege of visiting close to 150 different countries in my life. And I have to say that America is still one of the top countries in terms of you can achieve, you can reach your dream. I probably would count countries like New Zealand and South Africa and a few other countries as the best places to live. However, I have to say that even today in America, there is still that tremendous opportunity where you can develop yourself, you can achieve things that you can hardly do anywhere else. You can be free, and you can be a person that is making a dent in history, so to speak. You are somebody, and so I believe the dream of the Pilgrims is still in America. Unfortunately, the whole slave business and entire confrontation with the African people that came as slaves and were treated as slaves until today, they are not treated equally, has a tremendous effect on North America. Even in Canada, but it's much less in Canada because Canadian helped runaway slaves by the thousands over the decades or centuries. But yeah, I believe America is still the land of the free, the land for the opportunity, the land for where people can achieve to be themselves.
Thank you.